Hello and welcome to the NFL show. Week 1 is almost in the books. Real football is here. I'm not going to lie, I woke up this morning feeling overwhelmed by just how much there was to talk about from Sunday night. Here on the talkSPORT USA YouTube channel, I'm delighted to say that Will Gavin, joined by Brian T. Smith. Brian, tube strikes will be damned. We will get a show put out, our 5-in-5 format again. How good was it to have NFL football back in your Sundays?
This is my first tube strike, Will. This is like a big deal. This is I guess the last one was March 2023, and I moved here at the end of May of 2023. I've had a billion, I'm officially a Londoner moment, but this is like a really nice life moment. My first tube strike, I was walking with my wife and the dog this morning. We're like, let's go check out the station and to see if the gates were closed, and they had just locked the gates, and I took a picture of the dog, so we'll have it forever. So the tube strike compared to the start of the NFL season could not be more polar opposites. England might not be functioning, but the NFL, I mean, what an incredible week. Not just weekend, Will, week for the NFL. Eagles, Cowboys, great game, even with the lightning strike. Chargers, Chiefs, in Brazil, NFL expands. I did the 18th game story at talksport.com. Everything covered in our social talkSPORT USA. And then you get to Sunday, and it did not end. The afternoon games are great. The first games were great. And then the Sunday night game was maybe ended up being one of the best games of the year, to have Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson going head to head. The MVP debate continues, and it all comes down to a field goal kicker. This is why we love the NFL, Will.
I'm going to make sure we've got the timer ready to go, because if you've not watched this show before, the 5-minute format, we do the 5 biggest topics, 5 minutes to cover them in. And there is really only that one place to start, because Sunday Night Football was well and truly a barnstormer. You called it maybe the best game of the season, certainly the best game of the week. I would argue probably best game of the year. I think one of the best games in Orchard Park history, as the first time back at that stadium for the last time. Best comeback of Josh Allen's career, 41-40, the Buffalo Bills over the Baltimore Ravens. Brian T. Smith, what were your takeaways from this game?
That Josh Allen is the MVP of the NFL. And we talked about this last week, Will. Lamar Jackson's incredible. Lamar Jackson is the best dual threat quarterback in NFL history. The only problem with Lamar Jackson, he's not being able to finish when it matters. And I find it quite ironic that we start a new season. And Lamar Jackson was good. Josh Allen had the better numbers. Everyone who loves Lamar Jackson, including me, loves to forget that Josh Allen was pulled out of a lot of games last year because Buffalo was just running its opponents out of the building. This was historic, Will. Now, it wasn't the greatest game of all time, but in terms of actual NFL history, there's never been a team to be down like this late to ever come back. And the fact that it comes down to a random fumble and it ends with a field goal, and as you said perfectly, it's in Orchard Park. It's the last year in that stadium among the Bills Mafia. This was an announcement, and I have the Bills ranked at talksport.com as the best team in the NFL right now. I had that all throughout the preseason. And I can say the Ravens are Super Bowl favorites, and we can talk about the Eagles and maybe the Arizona Cardinals or whatever the hipster nerds are saying on Twitter. But Josh Allen, he doesn't have the greatest receivers in the world. They don't have the greatest backfield in the world. But this is a team that during the regular season, they find ways to win. And just an incredible, gutsy, heroic performance, not just from Josh Allen, but that entire Buffalo Bills team last night, Will.
And look, when you have these big comebacks, you mentioned the random fumble. It takes a little bit of luck. Derrick Henry fumbling the ball is a rarity to see regardless. Keon Coleman's touchdown on the 4th and 2, where it was deflected, the ball clearly aimed for Dawson Knox and somehow ended up in the arms of the second-year wide receiver. But Josh Allen had 251 passing yards in the fourth quarter. In one quarter alone, 16 points in the final 4 minutes. After the Ravens had 40 points in the first 50 minutes. Like, the turnaround was astonishing. When the Bills turned the ball over on downs with 9 minutes left and the Ravens got the ball back then, they were down 15 and people left. Yep. Bills Mafia, one of the greatest fan bases in all of the NFL, went, do you know what? Every week's not necessarily.
We're done. We're out of here. This is it. We've had enough.
We can handle it. It's just I did want to highlight, though, because as much as week one is a little bit overreaction theatre, some genuine concerns about how the Ravens reacted to this situation. They get the ball back with 9 minutes remaining, having scored 40 points on 8 drives so far, 410 yards, 10 yards per play they were going, and yet they get the ball back 3 more times to ice the game, and they go 3 and out. They have the fumble, and then they go 3 and out again. And I spent this whole offseason talking about how I thought that the talent was already clearly good enough. The coaching needed to take the step up. That offense with Todd Monken had grown over the past 3 years and was just getting better. The Zach Orr and that defense was just getting better. Like, all of that consistency, I thought, was a real reason to be positive about this Ravens team. And they choked. They got in there, having been in their bag for 50 minutes, they sat there and went, oh, we only need 1 first down really to win this game. So we're going to run Zay Flowers on a jet sweep. Like, you just stop overthinking it. When you've got Derrick Henry, when you've got Lamar Jackson, put the ball in the hands of your best players, go and get the downs you need, go and win that game of football. And I really think there's no excuse for the Ravens being 0-1 this Monday morning.
Yeah, and look, we can start week one with a John Harbaugh question, and that's totally fair. Because John Harbaugh, now you're going to have your offensive coordinator and Lamar Jackson and on, but this always falls at the feet of the head coach in the NFL. And John Harbaugh, that won the Super Bowl, was a defense. Joe Flacco's your quarterback. You're riding Ray Lewis and that famous Ravens defense. This is a completely different time. And I remember going into last season, Will, and the questions were, why'd you stop running the ball during the playoffs? Obviously, you get Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson not being able to finish, Lamar Jackson being the second best quarterback on the field in the defining game of his season. And you're in week one. They should have closed that down. John Harbaugh is at times just too conservative overall for the Baltimore Ravens. And when you have all that talent, if you have Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, you win that game. It's just one game, but the Ravens and John Harbaugh have to be better than that.
Look, we scraped him with 4 seconds left. I like to try and throw something in when we've got a few seconds left on the 5 minutes, but as the buzzer hits, that takes us on to our second topic. And our second topic today, I think we had a few that we wanted to throw up.
Yeah.
Do you want to go with the Packers' performance or the barnstormer in the 6 o'clock window between the Steelers and Jets as our second topic?
Old man Rodgers. I want old man Rodgers right now.
Old man Rodgers. Okay, absolutely love it. Let's get reset. Let's hit that timer. This game was supposed to be a defensive slobber knocker. This game was supposed to be, we're not sure what Justin Fields is. Rodgers is 41. There's no way that this is going to be getting the over. This is meant to be 2 of the greatest defenses in the NFL, in theory, in talent terms, going head to head. It was going to be a 13-10 game. And yet what we got, 34-32, late lead changes, and Aaron Rodgers going and winning this game, 4 touchdowns, 0 turnovers. It ties Tom Brady's record for the number of games doing that in his career. And I have to hold my hands up and say, I spent this whole offseason arguing with people saying Aaron Rodgers is absolutely spent. That's the best Rodgers performance we've definitely seen since he was in Green Bay. And honestly, I'd probably include his last couple of years in Green Bay as well. The question mark is just, was it a one-off with revenge on his mind? Or are we going to see this Aaron Rodgers for 17 weeks?
He beat the Jets, Will. Like, what are we talking about, man? He beat the New York Jets. Jets, who were not supposed to be good, who are not going to be good. Their defense was atrocious yesterday. I still thought Aaron Rodgers looked old in the pocket. He was getting sacked. Yeah, he put, credit to him. He put up big numbers. I think it's a classic game where if you just look at the box score, at the stat line, Aaron Rodgers looks like he's 32 years old. And that's great. He got the win. That's fantastic for him. I didn't see anything in that game overall that convinced me that the Steelers have this incredible offense and Aaron Rodgers has dialed it back 10 years. There'll be tape on him. Teams will figure it out. Most importantly, he played one of the worst teams in the NFL. The New York Jets never should have lost that game. I thought Justin Fields was very, very poor on that last drive. I was reminded that is why Justin Fields is not an NFL starter. That is why Justin Fields has lost his job with 2 teams now. He was good at times. He wants to run more than he wants to throw far too often. The Steelers should have won that game. They won that game because they played the Jets, who are going to be at the bottom of the league by the time this year is over.
Look, I'll have my thoughts on the Jets in a moment, but just coming back to that offense, because I disagree with you slightly. Like, I thought, yes, Rodgers still looked old. He is 41. That is the necessity. He's not going to be moving in the pocket like a quarterback 10 years younger than him. But, 5 of 7 on third down. A lot of that had to do with Rodgers' decision making. Arthur Smith, who I really wasn't positive about as a pairing with Aaron Rodgers, I thought handled business. Jonnu Smith's end around, the DK Metcalf yards after carry, like all of that stuff. Jonnu Smith had that end around, which was unbelievable, but also had 5 catches off 6 targets for 15 yards. Like, that's an Arthur Smith fever dream situation, right? But the Calvin Austin touchdown at the end of the game, for me, like in the fourth quarter, was real vintage AR-12, was rolling out to his right on one foot, off platform, flicked his wrist, on the move, like all of that said to, like, it gave me kind of chills to 2014 and thinking about him being the best player I'd ever watched play in the NFL. And okay, it was one play in a game where he overall performed pretty well. What did you make of his comments afterwards, where basically he was asked about the Aaron Glenn situation and said that he was pretty delighted to beat everyone involved in the Jets organization?
Yeah, so really quick, while you were speaking, I was just looking at the Steelers schedule. It is going to get interesting because they play the Seahawks next, winnable. They're at the Patriots, very winnable. The Vikings, with JJ McCarthy, the Browns. What if the Pittsburgh Steelers start 4-1 with Aaron Rodgers? But his comments, he had every right to say that. Look, I've been super hard on him. You have been hard on him. The whole world has. He asked for a lot of it. He dealt with New York. He dealt with the New York media. I don't put much into this overall. Let's see him prove it over 8 games, over 12 games. Aaron Rodgers is supposed to win Super Bowls. Aaron Rodgers is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. I believe overall he is in decline. But when you get that win in New York, he had every right to say, I wanted to beat everybody. It wasn't about Aaron Glenn. I wanted to beat. And I liked that Aaron Rodgers, he gave a shout out, I believe, to like the equipment manager. He met some Jets people on the field. That was classy Aaron Rodgers. That's the Aaron Rodgers that I used to like and used to pull for. But he had every right to basically say, yeah, I wanted to beat the entire Jets organization, starting with the owner on down. I applaud him for that. Be honest, own it. You wanted to win that game, and they won that game.
Quick 10-second thoughts on the Jets offense. I have some concerns about the Steelers defense because you had Breece Hall down for 5.6 yards per carry, Fields 48 yards on the ground. They had 120 yards more than the Steelers. There goes the buzzer. And look, that Jalen Ramsey big hit was really their first really great defensive play of the game, and they're meant to be a great defense. I just have a tiny bit of concern when it comes to that. Let's talk about those Green Bay Packers then. I mentioned it. This is the third of our 5 topics today. The Green Bay Packers win out over the Detroit Lions. And honestly, we'll start with you on this one. I thought that the scoreline flattered the Lions in the end because of the late Tesla touchdown. I think actually this was as big a beatdown as we saw from any team in week 1, barring maybe the Colts over the Dolphins.
I was just about to say the only one that was worse with the Colts and the Dolphins. What does that say about the Detroit Lions? And yes, Detroit, you have question marks, you have issues. Yeah, the worst thing you can do is overreact to week 1, but we've all been seeing this coming. They didn't have that electricity, Will. They didn't have the energy. Jared Goff, who's been fantastic overall the last couple of seasons, looked normal again. You cannot tell me that the loss of Ben Johnson is not affecting this team right now. They can find it over time. But Green Bay was the better team from kickoff. Jordan Love, who you've been talking up the Packers before the Micah Parsons trade. Jordan Love played a very sharp game. That game was not close. And you're playing in the NFC North. You've got the Vikings, you've got the Bears, you've got a very, very tough division as we saw last year. And if I'm a Detroit fan, you're really trying to take deep breaths right now because you know that you can't really go up. I mean, the only way to go up if you're Detroit is to win the Super Bowl. Doesn't feel like that's happening this year. This is a team that easily could regress this year.
Let's talk about the Micah Parsons of it all, because as much as this was dominant a performance, 27-13 the final score. I do want to talk about the Tesla catch, but they were dominant in the first half, and then it was ball control in the second half. Interesting that was with the passing game rather than running the ball, but they really just ran the clock out and went, we've got this. There's no need to put the foot on the gas and score 40 here. But Micah Parsons and that pass rush in general, They had 9 quarterback hits yesterday, 4 sacks against a much vaunted Lions line that admittedly are missing Frank Ragnow at centre. And Parsons comes in, plays just 29 snaps in this game. His first snap goes up against Penei Sewell, I'd argue a top 3 tackle in the NFL. And he bull rushes him, gets inside, forces Jared Goff off his spot. He was second in the team on pressure rate. If you see the other sacks, if you see Rashawn Gary's sack, if you see Devontae Wyatt's sack, both of them, Parsons is moving the quarterback. Parsons is disrupting the pocket, and they clean up after him. He gets his sack late on as well. For a guy who played less than half the defensive snaps and had no preseason and had a back injury coming into this, Micah Parsons went, look at the difference I can make to this Green Bay Packers defense. You think it was special now? Wait until I'm full go in 3 weeks' time. It is terrifying for the rest of the NFC North, the rest of the NFC, honestly, the rest of the NFL.
You just set it up perfectly. We have all this covered at talksport.com because Micah Parsons, 1-0, Will. 1-0. Jerry Jones, a big fat 0-1. Like, Jerry Jones couldn't have looked any worse, and he actually looks worse because that's how good Micah Parsons was. As you said, with a bad back, not being in full shape. But Micah Parsons came out after the game and said he spent 6 months in a toxic culture, and he actually wished he had been traded. Now, he played a part in that because, you know, he was the one dragging this out as well. But Micah Parsons, imagine once he gets his reps and he gets his stamina and he's at full health and you work him into this defense, the fact that, you know, what we saw yesterday, Will, was the same Micah Parsons who was with the Cowboys. They were using him all over the place. He was lined up over center. He was basically a nose tackle. He was an edge rusher. He was a linebacker. He is absolutely dynamic. He is the modern NFL Swiss Army knife. And the fact that Jerry Jones traded that away and Dallas could not finish the Eagles, and the Green Bay week 1 overreaction, I'll gladly do it. Yeah, they look like Super Bowl contenders in week 1, and it's only going to get better as long as Micah Parsons stays healthy this year. Looks like a brilliant, brilliant pickup right now by the Green Bay Packers.
People will say don't overreact to week 1, but suddenly the Lions have a must-win game on their schedule when these two face off later in the season in Detroit. Suddenly this division, like, to lose that way to the other team who are like favourites for the division alongside you is a pretty spectacular way for it to happen in week 1. But they did have probably the best play of the whole game because right at the death, Isaac Teslaw said, do you know what, Odell Beckham Jr., what you can do, so can I. Bending backwards, one-armed grab, toe tap down. Like, that's one of those moments that you can show to people in the office who aren't NFL fans on Monday and go, did you see this? Absolutely phenomenal. And the reason we love the NFL is we can sit here and talk about pressure rates and quarterback hits and everything else, but you get those moments of magic, Brian.
And DeAndre Hopkins also had an absolutely incredible one-handed catch. And when DeAndre Hopkins had that one-handed catch, you're like, oh, Baltimore's winning it. This is over. They found their veteran wide receiver. They're winning the Super Bowl this year with Lamar Jackson. But Green Bay looked really, really sharp now.
Beautiful. We're storming through these 5 at 5. Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below on YouTube. Do make sure you're subscribed to the talkSPORT USA YouTube page. Like all of that as well. We've had some really nice videos doing really well over the last few days. Really appreciate all the interaction we've had with them as well. So keep getting in touch. Keep getting involved. We absolutely love it. Let's move on to the next topic. And we referenced it at the top of the last one, because if the Green Bay Packers put a beat down on the Detroit Lions, then I don't even know how you describe what the Indianapolis Colts did to the Miami Dolphins, Brian.
Daniel Jones, man. Like seriously? Are you serious? Daniel Jones did that to you?
Danny Dimes is back, baby.
Not even the Indianapolis Colts or Shane Steichen or, you know, Anthony Richardson. You let Daniel Jones do that to you? Mike McDaniel? You're going to wear the sweat. You're going to roll up the sweatpants and wear sunglasses and be like the cool kid who just somehow became an NFL coach, and you're going to lose like that? And you've got Tua and Tyreek Hill. Look, Will, I wrote this at talksport.com months ago. The Miami Dolphins blew it by not trading Tyreek Hill leading up to the NFL draft. They had a window to get rid of him. That team is an absolute they're just dysfunctional. You know, Dallas Cowboys, chaos. Miami Dolphins, chaos. At least the Cowboys looked respectable against the Eagles. The Dolphins were an absolute no-show. Mike McDaniel is my favorite for the first coach to be fired. Tua is going backwards. And then you've got Tyreek Hill, who's 31, who quit on the team last year, who had to apologize. He had 40 yards. What are you doing, Miami? Like, where are they going? What are they doing? By far, the biggest loser of week 1, other than Jerry Jones, was the Miami Dolphins.
And look, this is the book on them was meant to be that the defensive front has got a lot of talent, which it does, and that the offense was going to carry them while the secondary and the back end of the defense was a real concern. Sure. And this is like, we have a Colts fan in our talkSPORT WhatsApp NFL like fantasy group who came in and was like, Danny Dimes, baby, as the Colts won their first season opener since 2013, almost 4,400 days since the Colts have won a season opener. And yet my immediate response was, yeah, you're not going to get to play the worst secondary in the NFL every single week, mate. He's not going to deal like that. They were 30 points to 0.
It was 30-0. It was 30-0. It was really bad.
Like, I just think the vibes in Miami are horrendous. And you mentioned Tua's regression. I went back and I rewatched this morning because I kind of couldn't believe what my eyes were seeing when I was watching it last night. Yeah. Tua Tagovailoa didn't log a single completion when under pressure. That used to be one of his absolute shining, like he wouldn't react under pressure, that he was very good at reading the game. Yeah. He threw each of his 2 interceptions on plays where there were no pressure whatsoever from the Indianapolis defense. He just threw up these hope balls into the middle of nowhere and got picked off. All that quick processing, all that great support around him, it just felt it was gone. Missed throws, constantly putting the ball in harm's way. He had the fumble as well. Yeah. Like all 3 turnovers, you could often watch interceptions and say, that's great defensive play, or the receiver has broken wrong on the route, or whatever it might be. Tua is absolutely responsible for all of those decisions. And you talked about their off-season decision-making, not moving on from Tyreek Hill when they could have still got a haul for him. Jonnu Smith would have been really useful in this game as a nice target over the middle who could have had some easy completions too. Jalen Ramsey would have been really useful in this game when their secondary looks like the very worst in the NFL. Like, honestly, I looked at the stats. They were beaten on first downs 27-12. On yardage, the Colts had 418 total yards to 211. They almost doubled the time of possession. And all of that's like inflated by garbage time. Like, it was as awful a performance. And all of it, well, Devon Achan's running for 9 yards per carry, and yet you're not going to the ball. You keep putting the ball back in Tua's hands. I think Tua looks spent. I think Mike McDaniels, I'm as big a McDaniels fan as there's been outside of Miami before. I just don't think any of it's working anymore.
It's not, and they clearly have issues between the front office and the head coach. You have chemistry issues. You have locker room issues. Like, we're not making this stuff up. This has been reported. This is obvious. I've written columns about this at talksport.com. We've done videos on it. I wrote a column this morning. My column this morning is having fun. Like, just go ahead and get it over with. The Chiefs still need a number 1 receiver. The Chiefs are going backward. They haven't replaced Tyreek Hill. Trade for Tyreek Hill. Like that, as silly as that is, that might be the best option for everybody involved, Will, because Tyreek Hill has to be gone. But the problem is as every week goes by, his trade value goes down and down. So Miami's hurting its long-term future. And here's the thing we need to talk about really quickly. Nobody wants to mention Tua's past problems and the concussions and on. But, you have to play. If you're going to do it in the NFL, you have to be relentless. You can't second guess. You can't overthink. It has to just be like, you are a warrior. And we try not to buy into that stuff, but that is the truth. And I still see a Tua who looks hesitant. Mike McDaniel looks like he's lost this team. I don't know what they're doing in Miami. I do know that they're going to have to rebuild this thing, and you're better off doing it now and firing Mike McDaniel if it comes to it after 4 games. You just go ahead and wipe the slate clean.
Just to mention, in the last 10 seconds, the Colts defense did look a little spicy. The weapons look good. Yeah. I'm not a Danny Dimes believer, but as a team who fancy for the number 1 overall pick, they might surprise a few people this year. Right, we're going to move on. Very last topic of the show today. And look, week 1, there was so much to talk about, so many things to cover that we're not going to necessarily do this every week because I want to nail down 5 topics, 5 minutes, really nail down that format. But there was so much to talk about. We're going to do our loves and hates from week 1. Brian, I cede the floor to you, sir.
I'm laughing because I'm talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars. Well, and I never get to praise the Jacksonville Jaguars anymore. But my God, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, granted, they played the Carolina Panthers and Bryce Young, so they're probably going to win that game. Trevor Lawrence looked like a real quarterback again. Liam Cohen looked like a good hire. This team has talent. Brian Thomas. I love that. You have an incredible play, and Brian Thomas is down the field throwing an incredible block to keep the play going. The Houston Texans did not look very good on Sunday. Indianapolis actually won with Danny Dimes. The AFC South is up for grabs. If Jacksonville is actually good, we saw a Jacksonville team that the last couple of years, while we're all sitting around like, why does this team suck so much? Why are things so bad? They got rid of Doug Peterson. You have a bit of a culture change, and they still have talent, Will. My biggest love of the week was that I can actually say something nice about the Jacksonville Jaguars. And then really quick, I want to go through this list. Michael Penix Jr. didn't get the win, but he looked like the future for the Atlanta Falcons. I love that Joe Burrow actually got a win. And like, oh, that's crazy. Joe Burrow got a win in week 1 with the Cincinnati Bengals. Of course, the Browns.
While only scoring 17 points, by the way, which is not the way Bengals win games of football.
Yeah, of course, the Browns couldn't win that game. Jackson Dart did not play, but Jackson Dart will be the future in New York much sooner than later. And we already mentioned, but yeah, Daniel Jones even winning a game. I can't say how much I love that. And I'll now turn the love floor over to you, Will.
I know you had the Chargers on your list, but please allow me to just say, getting over the 7-game losing streak against the Chiefs in a way where they absolutely deserve the victory. And actually, I thought were more dominant than the scoreline suggested. Greg Roman got in his bag. The team, we were expecting them to be this run-heavy, grinding team. Instead, they let Justin Herbert absolutely ball out. Keenan Allen and Quentin Johnson, we'd heard all this stuff about how their wide receiver room wasn't going to be any good. They were more featured than Lab McConkey in this game this week. And admittedly, I could probably have put the Chiefs' defensive performance on my hates list for this week, but I thought the tackles were good all night, despite Rashawn Slater missing. I thought they stood up on defense. They stopped the Chiefs from mounting their comeback. They looked less Chargery, less Spursy than I can ever remember the Los Angeles Chargers being.
Less Spursy,
recently.
I love that. I totally know what that means over here. That's a very nice way to describe the Los Angeles Chargers as being Spursy. That's very well said, Will.
Yeah, exactly. And look, the other one on my love list, just to give a shout out, we did a lot on rookies in recent weeks. Tampa Bay rookie wide receiver Emeka Egbuka. He was the big hipster pick. He was going way too high in fantasy leagues. Everyone was loving him. He gets 4 receptions, 67 yards, both touchdowns, including the game winner against the Atlanta Falcons. The second player since the 1970 merger to record a game-winning touchdown reception in the final minute of his rookie debut. He was brilliant. They didn't look up to their very best, the Bucs, but they scraped out a tough win in the South, and I think they're going to be an interesting team going forwards. What's on your hate list? We've done the loves. Let's feel, the things we're concerned about going forward, to be nice about it.
So I'm not doing this because I spent a decade plus in Houston covering the Houston Texans, who never delivered when they were supposed to. But Will, the Texans office week 1 concern, don't want to overreact, but CJ Stroud looked okay yesterday. He wasn't the best quarterback on the field. You replace your offensive coordinator. I'm just not seeing enough from this team right now. A team that a couple years ago, all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, they are the next hot team, and they have it. You have weapons. You have to use them better. They're still overall just too conservative. It doesn't make sense, especially when you're playing the Los Angeles Rams and the Texans are driving down, horrible fumble at the end. But the overall Texans offense, that was a team that going to last year, dark horse contender for the Super Bowl, and they're just not going anywhere right now on the offensive end. Number 2, hate. I just mentioned Jackson Dart didn't play. I just have to get this out of the way. Brian Dable has to stop this. Like in the Giants PR, I don't know if you saw the stories, but they're not allowing Jackson Dart to talk to the media. You're in New York. Like, how do you make a story in New York? How do you make a story in London? You turn it into a story. They're turning it into more and more of a story by now allowing your backup quarterback to spend 2 minutes just saying, talking about what it's like to be on the sideline. Jackson Dart is the future. He will start. Let the guy talk. And a couple more really quick. Way too much Mike Vrabel talk and, getting into it with the media and just trying to be the tough guy in New England. The Patriots looked horrible yesterday. I don't expect much from them this year. You can't have Drake May going backward. Very, very disappointing start for the Patriots. Then again, I don't expect much for them. And lastly, I have not been a believer of Sam Darnold going to Seattle. And I just did not see much week 1 from Sam Darnold in that offense. As you know, against the 49ers, they got that win, but that was just a weird move, and I'm buying into it less than ever, Will. And I turn the floor over to you to finish us off.
We've had the buzzer, but I will do you know what? I'm going to get my
I'm sorry, I went too long. I'm sorry, I
out there. No. We both did on our loves, but that's what we should be doing. It's week 1 of the season.
There was so much good stuff in the NFL this year. This week was incredible.
Exactly. We're ending on negatives. Maybe not the popular way to do it, but just there were 2 that I wanted to highlight. One was from that 49ers Seahawks game. You know that I'm a 49ers fan. You know that overall I believe in Kyle Shanahan as the schemer, but his consistent, ongoing trust in Jake Moody is absolutely bizarre. That game should have been buried so much earlier. Hits the upright on one kick, has another one blocked after really poor. The process was really poor in the kick, and you just go, now is the time. There's so many good veteran kickers out there just floating around. Now's the time to make a move. But my real one this week was the Titans against the Broncos should have been a massacre. Bo Nix and everything they did last year, they should have got going. Nice touchdown to Courtland Sutton in this game, but it's the other side of the ball where you had a rookie quarterback and a Titans team with not a lot of weapons going against one of the best defenses in the NFL. And yet, because the Titans defense played so well, they gave the Titans 5 possessions where they started past the 50-yard line. From those 5 possessions, they scored 6 points.
I told you they were going to be bad, Will. I told you they were going to be bad.
The problem is it wasn't on Cam Ward. Like, he had some bad throws, but he also had some very good throws that were dropped by Calvin Ridley. And the play calling was just bizarre. Yeah. You don't have to run the ball up the gut on every single first down for a single yard, Brian Callahan. Like, it was just... Honestly, you're going up against one of the best defenses in the NFL. You've got real opportunities to go and win this game because you're getting turnovers, because you're getting short fields, and you go and lose a game like that to Bo Nix. Properly disappointing. I thought the Titans had a chance to give us the upset of the week based on their performance, and I'm really quite frustrated that we got left with a storyline that we should have had as one of our big 5 stories, and instead we're just left mentioning it at the end in frustration.
Yeah, we'll have one more hate really quick. Tube strikes.
Yeah, fine.
Tube strikes. Tube strikes.
Because you don't get to see me in person. I totally understand.
I did this remotely in the flat. Get your act together, England. You're not France. It's 2025. We all can't work 32 hours a week. Come on, man. Like
if we can organize ourselves to, if you can all organize yourselves to put some flags on posts, how can you not organize yourselves to make sure tube workers are paid properly?
If you can take scones this seriously, like, you have to have a properly running tube system in 2025.
Producer Tom was livid at the scones comment. I want you to know, livid. I don't know if that's because he's a scone man versus scones. We didn't even get into jam versus cream. But
I love them, man. I absolutely love them. But you got to have a functioning tube system.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed. That was our 5 and 5. Look, there's been some brilliant stuff going out on the TalkSPORT USA YouTube channel over the past week. Big name interviews with players from the NFL. Really great content from Brian going on air. We went on air and immediately reacted to the spitting incident and the game on Thursday night. Some really nice reaction from the games on Sunday. Like, there's some really good stuff up there. Like, genuinely, if I wasn't involved in it, I would be a subscriber because I think that the quality is really high.
It's really nice.
I wouldn't say that if I didn't believe in it. And so get in there, get involved, and get in the comments, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we will see you for this show next Monday. But trust me, loads more content coming over the coming days there at talksport.com and all across the TalkSPORT network.